Today we're going to be replacing a coil spring on this 2018 Mk7.5 Golf 1.6D, and it came to light on an MOT test that the rear coil spring had actually snapped, and an MOT test is basically a safety check for the UK roads, mandatory, and you can pass or fail it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen all the wheel nuts in preparation. Well, the plan's to jack the trailing rear arm up, and I do have two jacks here. So we've got the first jack in position, and we'll, with a block of wood, so we'll jack the vehicle up. I don't want to go too high, but what I want to achieve is you see the wheels moving on the jack. That's a good sign that if the wheels are moving, the jack's in position. There, it stays the same. If the wheels aren't moving, that's moving in relation to the car. So we've got the front wheels chocked, and we're just going to jack this up a little bit this side. And on the other side, the jack's a bit bigger, so I've had to carefully position it so we get room to position the jack stands. You can see the wheels aren't moving there, so we know that that is moving in relation to the car. So we'll just keep an eye on it. And we've got the wheel quite a bit in the air now. I want to get some room so I can get the coil springs in. So I've got the jack stand here, and I think I'll just try it on that second setting there, ignoring the hole what somebody else has drilled in it. So I'll just gently lower that down just to see how it rests, and check the other side. Let's wedge the jack ever so slightly with it being a large jack, but we'll see if we can wiggle it out. Just pinch between the jack stand and the tyre. Yeah, we're going to get that out clear. And we'll just take the weight off the other jack. I'll just leave that in place ready. Now ideally you want to be jacking up on level ground, but I've got a driveway on a very slight slope, but I am used to it. So what I do is I put the car in reverse gear if it's pointing this way, and first if it's pointing the other way. And I also use something to chock the wheel. I've just positioned it like that so nobody trips up over it whilst walking around the vehicle. So now everything's safe and good, we'll press on and remove the wheel. It is also a good practice to stow a wheel that you've removed under the vehicle, as if the worst comes to the worst, the vehicle can only fall so far. Now we can see the coil spring in all its failed glory. You can see the point of failure hopefully coming in shot. Just there, that's where it's failed. That's where the MOT inspector noticed it. Given this channel's about experimentation, we need to compress the spring to remove it. So there is a method where you can use a ratchet strap, or conventionally a pair of spring compressors will suffice. Well, that came out nice and easy. We didn't have to compress it too much, and this came off the top of it, so we'll be reusing that when we get the replacement in. And you can see the point of the fracture just there. Now we do have a small piece of coil spring to remove, so I've got a bar in here, and we'll just see if we can lever it out. And we have a pair of good used replacements. I would have actually bought one, but they came as a pair. They were cheap enough. They were £28 from eBay, and we have the opportunity to check that the part numbers correlate, and indeed they do. So I think we'll use the spring compressors for the assembly of these. Well, I'm quite happy to use these parts, they're in excellent condition. It was a good bargain, well sourced, and the label is denoting the bottom, so I'll put that the correct way around. Using the ratchet straps actually paid off, as we've now got a gauge as to how far we need to compress this replacement spring. We need to get this one to that length to have a fighting chance of wiggling it in position. So using the spring compressors, and strangely enough it's an 11mm spanner for my spring compressors, we can just evenly tighten them up to compress the spring. So it's looking like we've got that something like a similar length. Now a good way of checking that you're tightening up evenly is you can use a spanner like that and just kind of measure across each side, or you can count the individual threads of the tool, top and bottom. I have made a bit of a rookie mistake here, and I'll hold my hands up to it. Now when we put the coil spring in there, that spring compressor is now going to be in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly invert these so they're pointing to the base. I'll perhaps move that one onto that coil spring in the process. So we've had a reposition and it's looking like we're getting close to the same problem on the other side. So we'll just see how it goes. Worst case scenario, we've always got the ratchet strap. So we can get the top in. Yeah, it's going. It just needed a bit of a push. So we'll rotate that round. There's a little piece of rubber just there. We'll get that in alignment with it before we release the tension on the spring compressors. I'm just releasing the tension, and part of me thinks it would have been easier just to use the ratchet strap. There's some quite fiddly working angles to get these spring compressors off. So rather than continue to struggle with those poor working angles, we're going to enable cheat mode and use the jack. You can see the springs compressing. So hopefully we should be able to, yeah, they're nice and loose now. Hopefully we should be able to remove them a lot easier. It's got a bit of tension on. That one's putting up a bit of a fight. But we've got it. Well, I've loosely refitted the wheel, and now all we've got to do is withdraw the axle stands. So we're going to jack up and pull the stands either side, and then hopefully and then we can just gently lower everything down, and hopefully that's not going to rest on the jack. Good, it's nice and free. So many thanks for watching, and why not subscribe? I've just got the wheel nut to tighten.